Forward to that. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Wealth Management Advisory Club meeting. Hope everyone had a great break for spring break, but we're right back at the business. As today, we have Edward Jones come in. We have Robert Compitello coming in here from Edward Jones. I hope everyone keeps your cameras on and please ask questions and make it as interactive as possible. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Robert. Robert, you can take it away.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure where everyone is. I see some people now. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. My name is Bob Compitello. I'm with Edward Jones Financial. I'm in an office right over here in Madison, New Jersey, about 12 minutes from where we're sitting right here. And Jack reached out and asked me to come in and talk about wealth management, the state of wealth management, where wealth management has come from. And where wealth management is potentially going. So, little background about myself. I live right over in Summit, New Jersey, about 15 minutes from this campus in Madison, or Florham Park, I should say, right? And father of three. I have one out of college, one in college. He's a junior, and a high school senior. And my wife works for a local charity as chief of staff for a charity. Concentrating on people experiencing homelessness, which was founded in Summit. My background is I started on the Florida New York Stock Exchange in the 1980s, and then went up to the trading desk. If anybody cares about any of that stuff, that ancient history, I'd be happy to address that as well, just for a point of context. But I worked at Citigroup, Smith Barney Citigroup in the 90s, and 2004, kept a little more local. I worked for Knight Capital in Jersey City till about 2014. Took some time off, did some consulting, and in 2018 joined Edward Jones. A little background on the firm. About 18,000 financial advisors. Firm was founded in the Midwest. We just celebrated our 100th anniversary. The model of the firm, if anybody knows from their towns in New Jersey, wherever you live, or wherever you're from, a lot of times you'll see these little pop-up Edward Jones offices. And that's kind of the way the firm was built. The firm was started by Ted Jones, again, in Cottonwood Town in Missouri. I apologize. Mexico City, Missouri is the first office that Edward Jones had. And I don't know, we're 18,000 FAs. My guess is we're about 14,000 offices. We like these little one-man shops. We kind of like go with the Starbucks model of real estate right down in the middle of town and kind of dig ourselves into the community. And obviously all that has changed with COVID, right? As I'm talking to people on a Zoom, if this was 3 years ago, if there's 25 people on this call, 25 we sit right here. But times change. The firm is probably going to change as well. You know, maybe that's a multi-FA office model where we have 4 or 5 per office. I don't know. I mean, it's dynamic. We clearly pivoted well during COVID. I do all my calls now on Zooms. I do meetings with my product partners, the funds that we use, the insurance products that we use. Everything is over Zoom now, so we pivoted as well as anyone. And it remains to be seen how how we'll go forward. In terms of wealth management, the firm's approach is it's really gotten to be more human-centric. Wealth management, where we, it's more of a total picture of the client. So if you think about financial advisors or brokers years ago, they would call you, they would pitch a stock, maybe a bond, and everything was done over the phone. Everything was done by paper. It was a lot more clumsy. It was a different type of appointment. Well, a lot of that has changed now, right? People have more access to information than ever. A lot of people pick their own stocks, and the way that has changed into wealth management is now we look at people more from the top down, right? We get to the globally, where are they, and then we work kind of from there, assessing their needs, assessing their goals, assessing their time frames. We throw a lot of risk management in there, right? What kind of risk can you take? What age are you? What's your income? What's your goal of the money? What are you earmarking for college? That's going to have a risk different risk tolerance, right? If your oldest kid is 14 and you're gonna help them out with a good part of the college, well, we're not gonna put that on a 10-year plan from the money. If it's retirement money and you're 35 and you're not gonna retire for 40 years, well, then chances are your risk is gonna be a little higher on that particular spot. So, that's all part of it. And again, it's a lot of moving parts, but I could say that the job has really evolved into more of a partnership with the client, getting to know them more, and then kind of guiding them, through the process. So again, I didn't realize that this wasn't going to be as much of a non-physical, where people would actually be in the meeting. I brought a couple of handouts. Maybe we can get there. You guys, I gave you our first quarter on markets. And interest rates and the Fed and everything that I'm sure you guys talk about, and I'd be happy to answer any of those questions. And I just gave you a little handout on it, which joins the firm and any possible opportunities and how to get those power shows to go into wealth management. So I'd like to stop right there and see if there's any questions.
Anyone on Zoom have any questions?
I'm all right for now, but thank you very much.
You're welcome. Wealth management potentially is a career.
I took a wealth management class. I am a finance major. I took a wealth management class, and I really liked how it went over like all of the different financial statements, like from income. I mean, we gone over from everything to an income to a will. So it was just very interesting to see all the different actually plays into in a person's life.
So I like that a lot. I actually just had lunch today with an estate attorney. So we partner up with our local attorneys, our local CPAs, to kind of guide our clients, right? We may not have a CPA on staff, or we may not have, like we have a trust department. We have some people that'll help us out, but we don't really have per se an estate attorney like in the office in Madison, New Jersey. So what generally happens is we'll partner up with a local attorney. Obviously, I'm going to vet them and interview them before I ever would recommend them to a client. Typically, you want to recommend 2 or 3 when recommending to a client, and let the client pick from there, right? Doesn't that make sense? You're going to pick 3 that you think are professional, and then let the client meet them privately or have a phone call or a Zoom and figure out which one they line up with better. But that's a great question, and a great statement. I really appreciate that, because you kind of fortified what I said about how it's really becoming more cradle grade versus just, hey, I think you should buy Pfizer here. They have a good dividend and, own it for 20 years, right? People are more demanding, they're more educated, more people are working differently, and they need guidance as things change. Whether it's even regulatory, right? Something like, how do we handle the CARES Act, right? That came out of COVID, or how do we handle the Secure Act, which came out right before COVID, which some of you may or may not be aware. It extended when people had to take their IRA, right? Obviously, everyone in this room is way too young for this, but 2 years ago, if you were working and you had an old 401k or even an active 401k or an IRA, you had to start taking the required minimum distribution at 70.5 years old. Even if you hadn't touched it for 50 years, the government's going to want to tax you on the way out. So at 70.5 years old, you have to start taking a portion. Well, they kicked that to 72 years old a couple of years ago. So obviously, that was a benefit to your normal consumer, but then they changed some other things on the other side where, if you ever inherited an IRA from a deceased family member or something, you would have 10 years to stretch it out and spend it versus over the course of your lifetime. So these are all the things that you want to be up on. Attorneys clearly are up on that. And, when I sit down with a client or a prospect all the time, I always say, we'll go through the basic stuff, right? Where are you with the whole, my normal procedure or the way I normally run an appointment? I go through their risk, I go through their needs. When do they want to work? Out of the 2 spouses, who's working? Are they both working? Do they want to work forever? Do they have rental income? All the things that go into this so that we can kind of see where they are and favor, right? Because we really want to take the least amount of risk to get to the goal. But then I'll always say, you have a will, do you have a building that maybe you're taking some rent out of for the business? All that kind of stuff, it's all part of the conversation. Anyone else, anything? I've stunned them into silence, as our area leader says. I think I hear somebody breaking in. Anything else you'd like to talk about, Jack?
You can, talk about, career advice and, how you got into wealth management.
Sure. So I'm a little different than you guys, right? I'm 55 years old. So it was kind of a natural transition in most of my career. So when you talk about institutional block trading or institutional trading, so I was at a firm on a trading desk, and our clients were basically the funds and the mutual funds, the money managers, the hedge funds that most people would use when they sign up for a 401k. Okay, all the big ones, JP Morgan, American funds, Lord Abbott, go up and down, the Hartford, Fidelity, whatever. Those were all our clients, and we handled their big order flow, and we more facilitated their bigger trades. So it was totally different than what I'm doing now, right? I would take on risk for the client, and then we would either hedge the risk or trade something else in comparison to kind of level out the risk. Totally different from this. But what drew me into this was, look, it's still some part of Wall Street, right? Wealth management, right? It's still some sort of finance. And it was really, when you're in a massive trading room like that, you're always in a conversation. You're always in some sort of conversation, right? You're not sitting in a cubicle, like coming up with these trades. There's salespeople, there's research people, there's people who run capital, there's people who monitor capital, there's risk managers. You're always in conversation. So when I left that part of the business, I said to myself, I need to be something where I'm face to face with people. And where am I going to go with that? I could go to the the product providers of Wall Street, right? Like a Fiserv or an ADP or something like that. And then someone suggested this, and I said, at 55 years old, I could speak to this. At the time, I was in my low 50s. My wife and I are going to try to put 3 kids through college. She's going back to work. She had taken a lot of time off to raise the kids. I'm switching my job. I could speak to a lot of this, right? That I've attempted to fund 529s. I've rolled over IRAs. I've rolled over 401ks into IRAs. All the things that I would assume people are going to want to sit down and talk about it kind of done. So it was natural. Coming out of school, your guys' age, again, I left some literature on that'll direct you to the Edward Jones website. I think you would ask me about internships. Those right now, I believe, are suspended. It started during COVID. We haven't ramped it up again. Feel free to reach out to me. I don't think it's going to happen for a little while. I clearly wouldn't expect it this coming summer, just because we're looking at the business a lot of different ways. But on this pamphlet, it will guide you exactly to where you need to be if you want to apply and try to get into an office or into home office or into whatever training program may be available at the time. Away from an Edward Jones, I can't speak to other firms' training programs and what they have, but I'm sure somebody does, or maybe even through your network. A lot of wealth management is now teams of brokers. You'll get like a 5-person team, and a lot of times people kind of do an entree into the business, working with them, supporting them, doing some of the back office stuff or whatever it needs to be on that team. It's another way to learn the business and potentially have someone else maybe siphon off some customers to you. So again, I don't want to speak for other firms, but just make sure you can and go to your career center and talk to them about opportunities on how to get into this business. Yeah.
Actually, I have one question.
Sure.
Are most of your clients like business owners, or do you have some like individual clients where?
Sure, that's a great question. I run pretty broad. I would say I really can't even pinpoint it. It's it's a lot easier than it was years ago to have clients all over for a lot of reasons, right? Well, specifically for this device that we're all holding in our hand. All I have to do is get registered. So, I have all the licenses that I need. And if you and I had a great relationship and you were a client and said, Bob, I just took a job in Utah, I would send an email to Edward Jones and say, hey, register me in Utah. And we pay a fee. And now I'm registered in the state. My license is national. It's a question of registering the state. So I'm registered in 15 states. I think I have clients in 7 states. I really don't have a specific client. I would say if you were asking me to kind of give you the one that probably tips the scales, it's someone that probably worked on Wall Street for years, is around my age. I've known them a long time. It was an easy client to get when I first started this business because I am growing it from the bottom up. I wasn't handed a book of business. So, naturally I went back to my network. So at the outset, it's going to resemble me, right? Or my background. But I have business owners now. I have retired people. I have retired people that also have pensions. I have people that are funding their own retirement. I have people in their 30s that are just starting out, that are looking at life differently, be it insurance or saving for college. It really is a nice, broad breadth of client.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone on Zoom?
Any questions?
I can talk a lot and ask a lot of questions. So,
Sure. I live 15 minutes away. I'm fine. My day's over after this.
all right. I appreciate how you're kind of telling us about how you kind of entered that field and like kind of how you did it a little like later. As like a student right now, I'm a senior. I'm kind of just finishing up my program, and I'm kind of like still like wondering like what I want to go into as far as like investment banking or becoming a financial planner, like just like I'm still unsure about everything. How could I kind of narrow that down and find which path is best for me?
Look, it's a great question, right? I mean, I have 3 children and I've got probably you surrounded, and my middle one might even be your age, right? I've got one out of college, I've got one who's a junior at Indiana, and I've got a daughter going to JMU next year. And we're in this conversation all the time, right? So I would just say, look, there's never going to be the magic bullet without trying something, right? You guys are way too young, and that's a great thing, right? I wish I was on your end of the Zoom instead of my end of the Zoom. Talk to as many people as you can. Realize that maybe your first job isn't your last job. Stay current. Have your mentors. Try to learn as much as you can, right? It's a trade, right? When we pick our career, you're making a bet, you're making an educated decision. There's risk. You try to eliminate all of that in your favor. And one of the biggest things is, hey, am I going to like it, right? Your job is a big part of your life. I really, really enjoy this. And I was very fortunate that I really enjoyed what I did prior to this. The job, the industry just went in a different direction. So it was just time. So I really enjoy this. I think it's a big part of it. And at 55 years old, I'm not even confident this is my last job, right? So I totally respect that. I realize that you're coming out of school and you really feel like you need to get it right because it's your first job, but you really can only control what you can, right? Unless something is really, talk to your career counselors, talk to your advisors, talk to the people that you trust in life, a family friend. Try to go to different age groups too, of people, because they'll give you a better perspective. And the world is very dynamic now, right? I hope you come out of work and you join a firm and you're there forever and you make a lot of money, but the chances are you're going to move around and you might even change your career path. So, I know I'm kind of beating around the bush in your question, and it's a great question. But the reality is that you really just have to keep educating yourself and try to figure it out. And again, I mean, I have this conversation with my son. He's a finance major at Indiana, and he's like, his internship this year is a sales job. And I don't know if he's gonna go into sales. He's a junior going into a senior year. He'll be 21 in a few hours, actually. He turns 21 tomorrow. And he said, what do you think? He took a job with Altria, right? The old Philip Morris. And I said, you're 21 years old. Take a sales job for a summer. See how that feels. And maybe next, through 2022, 2023, when it kind of really matters a little more, you'll be like, you know what? I don't want to do sales, or maybe, hey, I'm really going to go after the sales when I put my resume out. So just keep yourself focused and really talk to people and get a couple of advisors in your life. If it's a parent, if it's an uncle, if it's a family friend, look, don't pigeonhole yourself and ask the same type of people. I really believe that. I really gotten to believe that as I get older. You want to talk to all different types of people. It'll give you a good perspective. And look, if you're a finance major, I'm sure you know that they're all different types of jobs, right? An investment banker is a lot different than wealth management, right? You're going to grind early on the first part of your life and really, you put a lot of hours in. I'm not saying you don't do that with this, but it's kind of a different job at the beginning. And if that's what you like, that's fine. But you want to can what you're getting yourself into.
Thank you very much for that answer. I actually very appreciate it. It's very relevant to my life right now. I appreciate how you say that it's not fixed what you do in life, kind of, and you have the chance to kind of bounce around, because I actually got offered a sales internship myself too for this summer, and I thought to myself, I don't really want to. Thank you, but I keep thinking to myself, I don't think I want to get into sales, but like you said, you're like, you know what, do it for the summer. You're telling your son, do it for the summer. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do, you do. And I kind of like that not everything's fixed, and maybe my internship or whatever won't indicate where I'll end up in life, or like.
I love your answer. I mean, because it's the reality, and it's the reality. Look, in my own home life, my wife was an attorney. Put it down on the HR path and kind of enjoys the fact she's an attorney, right? She always tells me when we're in an argument that she's an attorney. That was a joke. You're supposed to fail at it on Zoom. And we laugh when we say, hey, 10 years ago, if I would have said to you, you're going to be chief of staff at a nonprofit and I'd be at a wealth management firm, we would have been like, what? Right? But you never know. And I always say, but change is inevitable, so you better embrace it, right? And I really, really think that you guys are in a great spot. The job market seems to be good coming out of COVID, right? Everything's gotten younger. You guys are clearly in that age group, and it seems to be the economy and the job market is looking pretty good. And again, don't sweat it if you make the wrong decision the first time, right? What have you done, right? You've really just gone to school here for 16 years, right? You can't be expected to get everything right. And if you have, I have tons of people in my Rolodex, I don't want to use the word Rolodex, but in my network, Rolodex is an old term, but in my network, in my contacts at my age or younger that have already done a career switch. So, then I have other people that are at the same years and they couldn't be happier too. So, a lot of it has to do with luck, a lot of it has to do with opportunity, and a lot of it has to do with the industry that you're in. Whenever I meet people, I'm like, what did you do for a living? I'm like, I was an institutional trader on Wall Street. And I'm like, oh yeah, that job really, really went into the algorithms and all that, right? And a lot of people say, yeah, well, it used to be 30 guys on the desk, it's now 3. Okay, so where those other 27 people go, right? They reinvented themselves, they packed it in, they moved it. So, you have to embrace the dynamic technology, right? I remember in the 90s, when I was just a little older than you guys, I remember when Bill Clinton was in office, and he's pushing 30 years now, right? His first year was 1992. He probably said it in like 94, 95. And he said that everyone in America should be prepared to have 7 jobs. That was 25 years ago. Now think about technology now, right? And how much of a disruptor it is, right? Isn't it Bezos who says all the time, your margins are my opportunity. So that means businesses are always changing. So, I wouldn't sweat it too much. I know you want to get it right. You come out of school, it's your first job. I totally respect that. But, kind of follow your gut, take some good advice, and Do the right thing and you'll be fine. And feel free to ask another one. Keep it dynamic.
I have a question actually.
Sure.
So, I'm an accounting major. I always
Yeah.
say like, I'm going towards my CPA regulation and CMA certification. What would you say, like, what like certification course would be best fit for anyone who's like the finance field or one's like wealth management, like majoring? Which ones? I have heard like the CFA.
CFA, yeah, but I don't have mine yet. A lot of guys have it. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not gonna hurt, right, to have a designation like that. At a firm like ours, it's not demanded. Just the framework and the way the firm is structured, it's great to have, but you don't need it, right? There's a lot of guidelines that we have. There's a lot of guidance with the home office and all that. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's a great question, right? But you don't need it. Certain parts you probably do of the industry. But yeah, certainly not bad to have.
What would be like your day-to-day like operating? If you like take me like a day in the life of a wealth management advisor, what would that be like for the members that might be interested in hearing about that?
Sure. So well, look, it's dynamic, right? I'm on a set schedule. And obviously I'm talking to a lot of bright people. You know what happened in the last 2 years. So any set schedule is nobody, right? Chaos is the new set schedule. So I can tell you how I approach it on what I can control. I try to get as many meetings as I can with either clients, prospects, referrals, what have you, right? I am building a business. I keep a tremendous part of my calendar open to service the clients I already have. I like to keep in touch with my clients, in a pedestrian kind of, market that's kind of just moving around 1% for the quarter. People don't really need to speak to you. But when you have what's happened over the last 6 months with the growth, markets have gotten a little more dynamic, right? And then now, of course, with the situation in Ukraine. So I talk to my clients a lot more, just make sure that they're comfortable with their risk, they're comfortable with their allocation. And I always want to say to them, I need some ownership and a partnership. And if anything is changing your life, I want to know, right? For all planning purposes. Now, I'm not talking about if you buy a new lawnmower, right? But if you're going to go out and buy a vacation home and liquidity is an issue, potentially, I want to know about that, because maybe we should make some adjustments now instead of when the market's down 25%, right? And my clients get that. In terms of planning, the clients kind of set the schedule, right? If I have a bunch of clients that need to see me over a week, well, that's my week. If I have a week that's kind of like lacking, right, for whatever reason, we're coming out of the holidays, people like, Bob, call me in mid-January, everything looks good, but I got to come out of the holidays, I'm behind on a lot of stuff. I'll sit down with product partners. I'll schedule a lunch or a Zoom in my office, and we'll have lunch over Zoom, and I'll talk to them. Hey, why, international exposure, why should I use you? Where are you guys on large cap? What do you guys think? What's your outlook? What's your outlook on the S&P for the year? The JP Morgan guy was just in here. You think we're going to be up 8.5%? What do you think? I'll talk to insurance providers. Anything new? I'm sitting down with a couple in their 50s. They're starting to think about long-term care. Hey, what do you think? What's your new product? Why are you different than XYZ, who was in here 2 weeks ago? So I guess the answer is I control a lot of my day, and then I just kind of look and say, what do I need to do? Where am I lacking? What do I need to get caught up on? What do I need to get ahead of? We also have continuing education to keep our licenses current. I tend to do that on the weekends. I don't really do that on my weekday time because I feel like it takes away. And there's some networking. Again, that's coming back, Jack. That wasn't here during COVID.
Yeah.
I'm part of the Summit Chamber of Commerce. There's a once-a-month meeting. Now it's Zoom. I'd love it to be a breakfast. Whatever. There's a charity event at the Elks. There's I could do some dinners with my product partners and bring in 6 clients and have a coffee or something. So it's dynamic, right? I kind of keep it in my head and in my calendar of what I'm doing too much of, what I'm doing too little of, and then I balance it.
I have a question too.
Sure.
Hello, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank
My
you.
question is, what is the advice you would give to somebody like a college graduate that is just starting their career? Like any advice with jobs, like any tips on applying, and like any advice you would want to share when they start with their career?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not really my lane, right? Because I'm not really a career advisor, but I can tell you as a dad, it's kind of the answer I gave to the gentleman before, right? It's a combination of your passion and what you want to do and kind of like using all the resources that the school potentially has, people in your network. And look, I'll give you a perfect example. I really believe in real life examples. I have a daughter who's probably just a little older than you because she graduated last year. And she went to a small little art school up in upstate New York, and she thinks she wants to be a therapist. And my wife and I said, look, before you go to grad school and either get your MSW or get your, maybe even a PhD, we're not sure yet. Why don't you take a year off and go work somewhere and figure it out? Like, use the advantage of how young you are and don't go to school right away, even though we really think that this is her calling. And she works at a hospital in Summit. She's like a healthcare tech, right? She's obviously she graduated with a psych degree, but she doesn't have an MSW or any of the, the things that come after that. So this was the job she got, and she's just kind of like really observing what's going on. So, it's kind of like an entree into what she thinks she might want to do. So, I'm not sure the path that you're looking to take, but sometimes you take a job just to kind of see where you want to be, right? I mean, people probably do that if they go to like an Amazon or something like that, or a big tech firm. Like, where do I want to be inside of this, right? Or even one of the big accounting firms. A couple of you guys I know are accounting majors. You go to EY, well, you want to be on the consulting side, you want to be on the accounting side, right? There's I know, like what's a mid-tier accounting firm? Now I'm trying to think. I actually get it.
Yeah, like,
In Manhattan, they have a wealth advisory. They actually do. Yeah, it's I can't remember, and I apologize.
we had guest speakers a couple weeks ago.
It's one that Joe Torre used to do on the radio.
Yeah.
He sponsored them, or he was their spokesman. Cone Resnick.
Oh, yes.
Cone Resnick. So Cone Resnick, I know for a fact that everybody who works there. There's 4 parts to the firm. So maybe you get in there and say, hey, you know what? I thought I'm doing this, and all of a sudden now I'm 25. I'd love to join their wealth management. Can I jump on one of those teams? So, it's part of it, right? I know that's not the answer that you're looking for, and I apologize, but there really is no magic formula, right? You guys are coming out with good educations, and it's a dynamic process. So I would just lean on as many people as you can. If you're kind of like struggling on which way to go, if you don't have a clear lane that you want to, dive into the pool in, and you'll figure it out as it goes along. But passion, hard work, some understanding of the career, and just constantly learning, keeping yourself apprised of what's going on is the paternal advice I give my kids. So I think I can give it to you as well.
That is great advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Sure.
Question. For, I guess, people our age who need to save for retirement, I know it's a long way down that road, but being in wealth management, let's say like your parents set aside like money for you.
Sure.
To like put towards a car, house, retirement. Where would you invest that money in right now to get the best return down the line?
Right. So, well, it's a couple of answers there, right? So what I would do, first of all, if we ever sat down, I would say, look, the money, could the money possibly be used for something else, right? You're paying down maybe some student loan debt. You're buying a house, whatever. Okay, but let's say, to your example, that it is free and clear, and you're like, I'm not touching this money, and you're 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you potentially could have a 52-year tail on this money, right? I mean, you really could. Then we're going to sit down, and you really are no different than any other client I have. We're going to sit down. We're going to do a risk tolerance. Obviously with your age, you could assume that you could take on a little more risk than if a 68-year-old man walked in and said, I want to retire in 4 years and every dollar I'm giving you is all I have. Okay, so chances are we're going to really, structure that portfolio a little differently. with someone like you, an all equity portfolio is probably going to be the way to go. I don't want to answer that, in this room without even knowing you, but
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm not going to say here buy Amazon and put it away.
Exactly.
Things are dynamic. So, but I will just end it with this. We're not going to be silly, but you certainly could take on more risk and go through the ebbs and flows of the market, right? I mean, you potentially could sit through 5 corrections. Think about it that way, right? Plus you're adding to it the whole way through your life, right? Through your 401ks. If you have any, you try to max out your 401k when you're at a job, your IRAs, whatever post-tax dollars, just regular taxable dollars. And it's a great question because it really talks about what I do for a living. It's, we're meeting at least every 6 months, we're having a soft conversation. I have an annual review every year. Most people I talk to once a quarter, and we're constantly thinking about that. Hey, what's the time frame on this money? What's the time frame on that one, right? You have a lot of money saved up for your kid's college, and the kid is 16 years old. Well, I hope you're not in an all equity portfolio at that point, right? The bursar's office is going to want that first payment in 6 months, so we're going to dial that money down. That doesn't mean that your retirement money has to be dialed down. If you're only 52, you love your job and you're going to work another 20 years. So it's a great question, but it's kind of a dynamic question, right? So I'm not going to give advice on what you should buy and put away for 50 years because things could change by next week. We kind of build good quality, good investment, balanced portfolios, and we say the math will get you there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Who's my guy up there? Give me that 4th question. Let's go. Keep it going.
Come on, guys, keep it as entertaining as possible. So you can ask as many questions.
No, I actually just want to know, it's not so much a question, but like, as someone who really enjoys, or as I think I enjoy finance as much as I do, do you think you actually like enjoy, or have you had fun in your career throughout your time? Because I know a lot of people, they look at finance and they go, oh, finance, all right, it's hard, but it's kind of, a little on the dry side, I would say, but I wouldn't say that. But what have you gotten out of it?
So I'll answer that 2 different ways. The easiest answer is I love the whole ride. But I think as, intelligent college students who are in finance and who are actually in a finance club right now, that finance is a very, very, very broad term, right? You can be an investment banker, okay, where you're on a plane going to China one day and Hong Kong the next day, and then Russia and then Europe and back and forth and logging miles and putting in a ton of hours hoping to get a monster payday, right? You can be a trader where you're sitting on a desk with a certain amount of people and be in that room for the rest of your life. You could be on the accounting side, right? You could be on the research side where you're breaking down companies. You could be on the distribution side of a syndicate desk on Wall Street where they're doing their deal flow, right? And you're talking to accounts that way. You could be the people who do the road show when someone's coming public. You could do what I do for a living, right? Which is just sitting down and talking to people. Doesn't matter if it's Peoria, Illinois, if it's Madison, New Jersey, or if it's Midtown Manhattan, right? I'm sitting down, I'm building a rapport with my client. That's what I like. So I like finance as a whole. But what I've really done is kind of figured out where, what lane to dive into in finance, right? If you stuck me in a cubicle at this stage, I would probably do a career change within 6 months. It's just not for me at this point. I worked on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. When you guys look at it now, there's nobody down there, right? It's a big glorified television studio. When I was there was 3,500 people in that room. So it was a blast, right? We worked hard, but it was a blast. And I fed off the energy of the people. Then when I got to the trading desk between 92 and 14, so what is that? That's 92 and 14 is 22 years. That, same thing, big giant rooms. We worked hard, high stress, but a lot of fun. It attracted a certain type of person. And I tended to, blend and bond with that person. I don't know if I keep up that pace right now. I'm kind of liking this. I like meeting people in Starbucks and talking about their goals and their dreams. So again, it's it's like medicine, it's like the law. I know a lot of lawyers. Some are divorce lawyers, some are corporate lawyers, some are personal injury lawyers. And I'll see them together when we're either, playing golf or just sitting around, and I listen to them speak to each other, and it's like 3 different professions. Yeah, they all have law degrees, they're all admitted to the state of New Jersey, but personal injury and corporate law, I mean, it's not even in the same ballpark. So I guess the answer is, if you like the field, that's great. If you can find your slot inside the field, that's even better. No different than academia, right? I mean, no, you'll have a college professor that says, well, I can never teach second grade, I don't have the patience, and then the flip side, so it really is kind of the same thing. Anybody else?
Yeah, of course. So I know you guys are not hiring for interns yet, but like, what would Edward show, like, what would be looking for, like, an intern, anyone would be applying for like a job at Edward? What qualities, like, what characteristics would like stand out?
That's a good one. I can't really speak to it now because I really haven't put anybody through because of COVID. Look, it's a good interview process there, that I can tell you. We tend to really like strong quality people. I think our I don't know the numbers, but I think like our retention rate is pretty darn good. Now, a lot of this is in St. Louis and done in the Midwest, so I can't speak to. This area has a tremendous retention rate as well. It's a good quality firm. Again, there's so many positions there potentially that I really can't speak to that. I apologize. I don't want to answer for something that I don't control, but an understanding of the business, whatever you're applying for, to the extent that you can, realizing that you guys are right out of college. And generally we just look for good quality people. And the one thing I love about the firm is we grow organically, and we give anyone who comes in tremendous support. That I will tell you. So I kind of grew up in the business on the institutional side. My father worked on the floor of the stock exchange, so I kind of knew that part of the business. What he and I did was a little different, but I kind of had a little bit of a segue in. This is totally different. Back then it was a little more of a sink or swim, and I really don't want that at this age, because there's a lot I don't know about this business that came from another part of Wall Street, and the resources are incredible. The home office, voice to voice is phenomenal. The resources on the website are phenomenal. The education, the learning site. So they really do support. So we're just looking for people that want to learn and good quality people. And I think it'll be a good experience from that.
What paths of like wealth management can you take? Because I know like with wealth management, with accounting, like myself, there's a lot of avenues you go down, like audit, like tax, like what are some avenues that like, like any like wealth management makers really interested going down, because there might be interested going down. Like, is there like a one step path, or is there?
Well, look, I deal more on a personal level. Yeah, correct, right? I mean, in terms of wealth management, yeah, I mean, it's maybe the kind of client you're going to take on. I mean, basically, kind of what I do, I would think, is most of what wealth management is, right? And then people kind of define the way they're going to run their business. Maybe you're working with just family offices, maybe you're advising pension funds, maybe you work with nonprofits. I would say most people kind of just run the business the way I do it, whereas either I find a client gets referred to me. By the way, I interview my clients as well. If I don't think the client's a good fit, then I probably won't take them on. One, because it might not be right for me. I don't think that we would mesh well together, so then it's not right for them. And I also have to worry about the other clients that I have to service, right? So it's kind of it has turned into more of a partnership than it used to be. But I still say the majority of wealth management is kind of the model that we have now. What you do with the model inside of it, but mostly it's what the big bulge bracket wirehouses or with an Edward Jones, which is, pretty big. I think we're like a sixth the size of Fidelity, I think. But it's pretty much, I would say, this kind of job type.
Anyone zoom in, any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
What would you say was the one of like the biggest challenges you ever faced like in your whole career? Were there any you would want to share?
Yeah, so it's funny, the challenge obviously was COVID, right? Because it is a out and about type business, especially, again, full disclosure, I've only really been doing this part of the industry since late 2018. And then I had a bunch of licenses for a long time, but I had to get an insurance license, I had to get a Series 66. My other licenses didn't carry over, I needed to get the 66. So I wasn't really good to go until February of 19. So I went like a year and 2 weeks before COVID came. So COVID in and of itself was a challenge, but it was a challenge for everyone else. So I think you're asking more specifically. On a personal level, I was at a firm that in 2012, if you look it up, you guys in Jersey-based guys should probably look this one up. I was at Knight Capital in Jersey City, and we had a $600 and something million software error. So that's where if you look up Knight Capital, August 1st, 2012, you'll see it. And so the challenge was, hey, your career is over a little faster than you thought. So I had to like pivot right there. And I definitely had some stutter steps because, to the gentleman's point, I wanted to find a place that I really liked. And I messed up the first 2 jobs, right? And then that's when I figured out that I wanted to do this. So I would say, in answer to that great question, it was job disruption, right? Which I didn't see coming, nobody did. And then how I pivoted for the first 2 years, I don't think I really got it right. And then again, change is inevitable. Not getting it right kind of led me to Edward Jones. So it all worked out in the end. But yeah, that was one of the challenges.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to answer anybody else.
I've heard this a lot from a bunch of people with like resumes and everything. Like how, like, I know you're not like a guy that would go over like resumes like that much. Like how long should a resume be? Like I heard some people saying it should be like a page, maybe 2 pages long.
Yeah, again, you're outside I don't hire, right? I don't hire. This would be, I could direct you to someone on that, maybe, or even like an Edward Jones person that you could talk to in HR. I'd be happy to do that. I don't want to give information that I'm not really schooled on, give you bad. Again, when my own kids ask me this, I'm like, you have a career center. They know way better than me. I don't hire. The firm hires. I don't hire. And even in a firm like ours, even if I brought somebody in, they inevitably have to go through the channels to get the job anyway. So I don't see any of that stuff. I apologize. I'm not current, and I know that's always dynamic. So I don't want to give the wrong answer there.
And then just one more question. What would you tell if you had to tell your college self, like any advice that you would give them now, and what advice would that be?
It's a great question, because I think about this a lot. I always say to myself, whenever I'm making a decision, and even with guys my age, I just used this line this morning. Whenever I make a decision, I say, what do I think I'll say to myself 10 years from now about this decision, right? Because you want to kind of narrow that map, right? You're never going to get it right, but what is risk, right? Risk is really what's left over when we haven't done the work. And so I try to do as much work as I can, and then realize there's risk after that. I would actually dovetail back to the answer I gave the gentleman. You're not always going to get it right. Stay smart, stay current, stay alert, keep reading. I'm not saying you have to look to jump ship, but just be aware of your surroundings, know the room you're in, and you'd be surprised opportunity presents itself. And I kind of did live like that. I'll give you one personal story, not to bore you guys with my story, but I worked on the New York Stock Exchange when the New York Stock Exchange was like the cat's meow. I mean, it wasn't the place to be. And I got offered a job to lead it in 1992. I was hired away by a competitor, Goldman Sachs, pretty darn good firm, to stay on the floor. And Smith Barney, which then became Citigroup for a couple of mergers, offered me a job up on the desk, and I was 25, and I was severely out of my comfort zone. And I had a guardian angel that told me to do it, and it wound up being a phenomenal move. So, trust your instincts. And I can't remember exactly what was going through my head at 25 years old, now at 55, but I do know that I bounced it off a ton of people before I made that. I had a little while to make the decision, because I went to the trading desk of the firm that I was working for. So they said, you have a couple of weeks to make this decision, and I went into absolute overdrive, bounced it off a ton of people that I trusted, and I really think I made the right decision, but I know it was uncomfortable. So don't be afraid, not to get cliche, but they say embrace the stink. Don't be afraid of that. That doesn't mean that embracing the stink is always right. Sometimes staying put is right. But just again, I go back to that. Have a couple of people in your circle that you really trust, different views, different ages, maybe even different careers. Right? You have a high-powered Merc salesman in your Rolodex. Well, why can't you ask him? I may not know your business, but he knows change and he knows the things that go into it. So, always have those advisors in your life.
Any other last questions for Robert on Zoom? Okay, thank you so much, Robert, for coming.
Thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna
Thank
leave.
you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you for being interactive.
Thank you.
Everyone on Zoom, make sure you stay behind. You guys gave a couple announcements, but.
And you want me to leave this stuff here?
Yeah, you can leave this.
And please, can I have a business card? He's got my business card.
I will send down all the information you guys because on email. You'll get a quick picture for we'll post on our social media page.
Sure.
Joe. Yep. Take a picture.
You don't want to play with the Giant fan? We've had season tickets since 1960.
I can see the ticket holder as well from my father.
There you go. Section 142.
335.
On three, 1, 2, 3. I think two.
Good.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much, Robert.
Now, leave the stuff.
Yeah,
You got it.
thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Good luck. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Take care.
Guys, we stopped recording.